So welcome everybody, Ylopo community, rate community. Um, so we're here today to discuss and talk to some expert clients who have a really lethal in a good way combination of our two sets of tools and sort of explore the synergies and how the two tools work together. And the kind of the big point that I'm making to everyone is, um, there's a lot of talk right now about a potential impending recession, and we haven't seen that in a very long time. We've had a massive bull market now for well over a decade. So I would argue almost going on a decade, almost going on a decade and a half of a bull market, and runs up in all asset classes across the board. And I think for the first time, we're really seriously talking about, well, a lot of the air might come out of the balloons. And the point that I'm making to everybody is like, that's potentially a very good thing for us. It's potentially a very good thing for our clients and a very good thing for us. If we can see rates drop, if we can see mortgage rates drop, home prices drop, or home prices even hold steady with mortgage rates dropping. I know statistically we've never had more pent-up demand. We've never had more pent-up sellers and buyers on the sidelines than ever, because every single month, every single year, you hold off on moving. It just keeps adding up, adding up, adding up. So, what we care about is velocity of transactions. That's all we care about. Don't care about home prices going up or down. We just care about velocity of transactions. That is going to happen. It will happen. What goes up comes down. What comes down goes up. It has held off way longer than I've thought, and I can't exactly predict it. I'm not that smart, but it's going to happen. And when it happens, it's going to be massive for all of my clients, and it's going to be great for everybody. But the question is where are you? Were you hunkered down and were you sitting on the sidelines and now you have to react late? Or like the panelists, are you investing during challenging times, still paying the bills, right? Positive, treading water, whatever it is, but they're going to be way ahead of their competition because they've been everywhere, been cultivating relationships and discussions and conversations and keeping track of buyers and sellers. And they're going to be there front and center with all these consumers so that those consumers don't go work with the competition. And that's the major point that I would make from a 10,000 foot macro level. Having said that, I'm going to hand it off to a dear friend, or I would say original gangster and dear friend of mine for a long time. Great guy, who's one of the best guys I've ever met in the business, and we've both been in this for quite some time. So, Matt, I'm going to hand the baton to you.
Well, Howard, thank you, and thanks for organizing this call, and thank you for not talking smack to me. I know it's opening day for most people, but for us, it was opening day a few weeks ago when your Dodgers embarrassed my Cubs, and so thank you for not wearing your Dodgers hat and rubbing it in today.
I
But
can go get it. I can go get it right now if you want.
no, that's okay. I need.
Dusty old hat.
I've learned how to take abuse as a Cubs fan all my life. And Chris, same thing. Thanks for not wearing your Dodgers hat. I appreciate
Yeah, if I was at home, I'd definitely wear it, and I may still talk smack. So.
it. But to coin a baseball analogy, since it is opening day for many people, what I will share, and I think it's really important, and I agree 100% with what Howard said. The people that are prepared are the ones that are going to win, and the people that are running blind and not doing anything in advance will suffer. And what's interesting about this is I think Howard and I, we knew each other back in 2008. I remember when Tiger Leads first came out, when it sold and when Ylopo launched. And I think Chris and I were working together back in 2008, I believe way back when. So we both kind of know we've been through this round of really bad times and we've weathered the storm and seen what's worked during those times. And to coin a baseball analogy where I see it is it used to be, I know in our world of media leads, it had the reputation of being come list me, right? Every call, every reach out was I'm ready right now. And right now in this market, it's come cultivate me. And I've heard this from numerous top agents that I've talked to. They'll say, I like you, I trust you, but I'm just not ready yet. And so the cultivation game starts. And when the cultivation game starts, where's the middle reliever come in? It's that way to engage with people consistently, month after month after month, because the majority of people that are closing deals in January, February, were closing deals that started a year ago or 8 months ago. They cultivated it and now they're ready. So having the right engagement tools, because there's more engagement tools now than ever. What I love about what Ylopo is doing is it's that good middle reliever that keeps the engagement so that now when they're ready, it really works hand in hand with radio, or it can get that reaction quickly where the people that pounce on leads, they can do it. And that's what these three panelists are experts at doing. That's why I wanted them on this, not just for this call, but even at our upcoming mastermind, where they can really go deeper on this and show the game. So first, I'll lead with Chris, and on the condition that he does not talk baseball with me. But you've watched this journey for 18 years, bad market, good market. Share how radio and things like Ylopo work together in your world to
Also,
why
let
they
me
make
let
sense.
me make one final point there, which is when you look at your close rates right now on various, let's say, new lead sources, and you look at your close rates on various cultivation tools, understand that it's reflective of we've been sitting at like 3.9, 4 million, 4.1, 4.2 million transactions annualized. It's crazy low. I've been doing this for a really, really long time. I'm used to sitting between, anywhere between 5 and 6.5 million annualized transactions. So whatever tools you're using, and you're saying these are the close rates now, there is a whole nother thing that's just out of your control, which is when we go back to, let's say, 5 million transactions a year, or 5.5 million transactions a year, or 6 million transactions a year, your tools will stay the same, but your close rates, right, are going to go through the roof. That part is out of your control. Again, it's really important because you got to be free there to make that happen. You can't be late to the game. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool.
Yeah, and look, and just to, address what Matt asked and talk more about what Howard said, when there's fewer transactions, there's two things that we have to do, unless we want to do less business, and none of us want to do less business. The two things we have to do is we have increased the amount of people that we're talking to, right? You have to dramatically increase the amount of prospects. So whether that's new lead sources, whether it's being more effective on current lead sources, whatever it is. And then we have to also increase the effectiveness and the quality of our nurturing, right? So it's adding more people and then being more effective with the people that we already have and the people that we're adding so that we get more results out of that. We can't magically manufacture, more home sales, right? It's the market is what the market is. But we can increase the amount of share that we're getting in our local markets if we're doing those two things. So and Matt, you said 18 years. This is my 41st or 40, I don't know, 41st or 42nd year. So I got my license in 1983. So we've been through lots and lots of different markets. Has this been one of the more challenging ones? Absolutely. I mean, it's been 3 years of a freaking, super challenging market. No doubt about it. But there's still people buying and selling. And in any of our local markets, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, there's more homes being listed and there's more homes going under contract than any of us could ever wish to handle, right? If I look at how many homes sell in San Diego or how many homes get listed in San Diego, my team couldn't handle that on a monthly basis. Now I think some of them are on here and hopefully they're disagreeing with me, but there's still enough business. It's just, are we getting our unfair share of it is the key. And that's where increasing the amount of people we're talking to and then leveraging, products like Ylopo to make sure that we're being effective with those people to find the people and to get the hand raises.
And so, Chris, over the years, I mean, you've done both. How do they both complement each other to you?
It's like I'm gonna really simplify this. It's like prospecting without following up. All right. Like people say, what's more important, prospecting, generating leads, or following up? Well, they're equally important because one without the other doesn't exist, right? You can generate all the leads in the world, but if you don't follow up with them, you're going to have a terrible conversion rate and a terrible ROI. At the same time, you can be the best at follow-up, but if you aren't generating leads, then who do you have to follow up with? So they go hand in hand, right? Radio brings us more top of the funnel, people that respond to us, or that each time they hear us, we own a little bigger piece of their mind, right? A little more share of their mind. So then when we are doing those other things, or when they do see us on social media, or one of our signs, or gets one of our calls or voicemails, or one of our letters, that there's that connection there, that which is so important. So they in my mind, it's like they go together, just like lead generation and lead follow-up.
Excellent. Very, very fair. I'll jump over to Bernie for a moment. Now, Bernie, it's been what, 2 years? And Chris, by the way, technically, I only said since 2008 with us working with Ray.
Okay, yes,
I know
yes.
you were in. I know you've been
Our
in business since you were in high
relationship is
school.
only 18 years young. That's right.
So, but Bernie, go for it. So it's been 2 years now, and you added radio because you really want to kind of do away with Zillow. And how is that? What would you describe it? You've kind of heard the discussion a little bit. What role has that played for you, and how do they work together?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I've known Howard. I think I've been with Ylopo probably about 9 years or so now. So thank you, Howard. And Chris and I go way back, probably 20 years into MFO. So we've
Can't believe it's almost a decade, Bernie.
it's yeah, probably. So it's been a great relationship. And I think radio, just adding and piggybacking off of what Chris said, and that is, we only had so much opportunity to get a lead, right? There's only so much out there, and it costs X amount of dollars once you have the lead. And if we don't convert that lead, and I have millions of dollars, let's just call it in Zillow leads that are sitting inside of my database that are unconverted, right? Or unconverted by us anyway. And you look at the amount of money that you spend in some of these lead sources, and in having opportunities like what we're doing with Ylopo, where we can continue to keep touching that particular lead. Chris said it best, and it's, how do we create tools to cultivate the lead we already have? See, part of how we look at leads is saying we have a Zillow lead, or we have a Realtor lead, or whatever it might be, a radio TV lead, Matt, in your case. And once we have the lead and we pay the cost of that lead, then what tools do we have to continue to keep cultivating that lead? And that is where it gets very interesting. And so I went in, just so you know, Howard, it's interesting. 40% of our overall sales have all been touched by Ylopo. Now, what's cool about that is what part did Ylopo play in that? And that's really kind of the question, is what would have happened or what wouldn't have happened had Ylopo not been involved. All I know is through buying the lead or having the lead, receiving it, using Ylopo for that cultivation process, and knowing that out of every transaction that our company has done over the last 12 months, 40% of that has had a Ylopo touch on it. So then you have to look at it and say, well, what wouldn't have happened had I not had that tool? The cost of Ylopo is pennies on the dollar in consideration to the cost of receiving the actual lead, right? And I'm not talking about our lead purchasing, Howard, as I am talking about the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, and all the other buying opportunity leads that we have. So that's where Ylopo really has helped us, is continuing to touch that lead that we paid. Let's face it, guys. I mean, if we're buying Zillow leads, for those that are on Flex, it's probably not a big deal. I'm not a Flex agent, so I pay out of pocket. But those leads are $400 or $500 up to $1,500 per lead, right? With an unconverted lead. If you can touch that for literally pennies on the dollar through Ylopo and then reconvert that lead that you weren't able to get before, it's such a great tool to have. And I also agree with, in regards to radio and TV, that also continues to help us develop recognition,
in our marketplaces, where people were maybe not calling us back now, where they're calling us back because of our Barbara Corcoran relationship, where they're seeing us on TV or they're hearing us on the radio. So lead coming in, cultivating it, let's say through what Ylopo's doing, and just trying to make the most out of that. As Chris said, it's getting more challenging. The market is, as Chris said, last 3 years has been very challenging, and those leads are getting very expensive. And we really can't waste any time continuing to keep inventing opportunities for ourselves to cultivate that lead back to us at whatever cost that is. You know, I'm in actually level 10 meetings right now, which I'm doing quarterly reviews, which is why, Matt, I was kind of stuck with some time here today as I put my management team on hold while I came in and did this with you guys. But it is critical that we keep growing, and it's critical that we keep cultivating and communicating with these leads that we have within inside of our system. And I'll say this in the end too. We all have a lot of money that we've spent on lead distribution. I mean, tremendous amount, millions of dollars in some cases for some of us. And if those leads are sitting there, what are we doing with them to communicate with them? Because you're not going to call them all, right? You're not having your ISA team or your agent calling, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 leads inside your system. So how are we continuing to keep developing AI tools or things like Ylopo through your AI service too, Howard, to continue to keep communicating with those people to get them off the fence to call us?
Yeah, you bring up some really good points. I think people should, if you're listening, should sort of diagram like this flywheel, okay? And as an example, in this flywheel is how an organization like Ylopo and its tools and Rate can sort of work together, right? So first off, as Chris said, you've got to have, you should constantly be building your database. And we've talked about this. You guys have heard me lecture about this. Your database is your most important asset, other than having great agents, right? Which is an asset, but your database is your most important asset that you can continue to grow. It is this treasure chest that you can continue to grow. Okay. And so getting new leads from Rate and getting new leads from RDC or Z, or we're really going deep right now on Google Maps and Google LLC and all kinds of things, right? And so and Google pay-per-click, whatever, and so just building from all these sources, right? So that's the first thing. Okay, keep that flow going, because it's a little tougher now, and you're treading water a little bit more. But again, when the tide turns and transactions go up, now you're sitting on a database that's here versus here, okay? Now you've talked about this word nurture and cultivate. What does that mean? To me, again, you're drawing this out. To me, that means you're bringing them back to you, to your branded website, to your home search experience. Okay, why is it so important to bring them back to you? They don't go to your competitors' websites. They don't go to portal websites. They go to you. Now, why? Why is that so important? Because now you have eyes on them. You have 24 eyes on them. But exactly as Bernie is astutely pointing out, we don't have time and the bandwidth to ourselves as people have 24 eyes on them. So we use intelligence to say of the 10,000, of the 1,000 leads or 10,000 leads or 100,000 leads you have, we have eyes on the people that are coming back. We have eyes on the people that are coming back more frequently now. We have eyes on the people that are saving favorites, right, to more homes. We have eyes on the people who are sharing their homes to their significant others. We have eyes on people that are making info requests, showing requests. We have eyes on these folks. Now, since we have eyes on these folks, we now can use AI, voice, and text to proactively get in front of the people these are triggers, right? This is consumer behavior triggering AI, not just like, yes, we will use AI proactively to touch everyone on the shoulder, even if they're asleep, because you never know, but especially the people that we have eyes on. The larger your database, the more leads you can get from Matt, right? Or any other source, the larger your database, the higher that's the denominator, the higher the numerator of people that are going to be exhibiting these down funnel activities, right? You know, if you have, again, 10,000 leads in your database, you're gonna have way more people causing all these triggers than if you have only 1,000 people. Now AI can get in front of them right away because you guys can't. Your agents don't have time to, whatever. You get them from right away. Now there's conversation. So Bernie talked about that. Again, put that in the flywheel, right? You got the lead gen, you've got the bring them back. That's the nurture and cultivation. Now you've got the communication, which is part of that cultivation, but it's instant. It's way lower cost than people, and it's reacting to what they're doing with precision. And this is the final piece, which is to never disintermediate the agent, right? It's to never, like, you can't go full cycle without amazing agents. If you're larger, it could be your ISA team. If it could be a team of agents, right? In a rotation, right? But when there now is, again, someone came in through Matt, we kept bringing them back to Bernie's site. Now we see someone really interacting, and now AI talks to them. And now there's a 20-minute texting conversation, or there's a 5-minute voice conversation. This is where we need you guys, right? Like, we are banging ourselves, you know, our heads against the desks when we see those conversations, and you guys aren't picking them up. You're not answering the phones, because we're doing hot transfers as well, right? It's that final piece. We're kind of like, for the first time ever, and I love it because we're doing it pre-storm. I'm telling you, there's an amazing storm of home activity that's coming. We've built that final piece, and even the last piece, which is like Maverick, where we can measure, are there any leaks in the bucket, right? Of that follow-up. We've come full circle. And lastly, like, where rate fits in, I think is kind of like, you ever talk to someone and you gotta tell them 2 or 3 times before they listen to you, right? And that's where rate comes in, because it's that confirmatory, okay, I've seen Chris online, or I've seen Gabe online, but like, wow, I've also heard them on radio and television, right? It's confirmatory. It's that second, third time that confirms the consumer, this is the right team I should be working with, right? So sort of I'll end there, but I want you to kind of sketch out that full flywheel of how it all works together. And lastly, those people that dig in, that pay attention to this stuff, are still, even in this environment, are crushing it, are absolutely crushing it.
Oh, excellent point. Bernie, one last thing, and I know you've got an appointment. I know your time is limited with there. What really woke me up, and I didn't realize, I thought I knew most of what I know about Ylopo, but when we were having a conversation and you said you can get to people within seconds of them hitting your website and getting them on the phone, can you touch on that a little bit of how, because you told me it was Ylopo. Can you tell me how that works? Because in our world, where as you know, every dollar you spend on radio, someone from radio goes to your website, you want to capture them immediately. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Well, we have ways that I have through services that I've provided, or I'm involved in, that allows us going out through home evaluation process, PPC campaigns, where they can come in and just put their address in to their property and not want to fill out their phone number, and it'll cross search. And by the time they literally can take the next breath, I have their contact information, their phone number, typically their email address. And so those leads are interesting. And then of course, with that information, I think can, put Ylopo on it through communication tools and things like that. So it's a widget that or a program that I have out that just allows people to go online, click for a home evaluation. As we all know, people don't really like pulling all their information in there, but what they will do in that particular case is they will give the address, because they want to find out, well, with an address, what can you get? And I think Chris or anybody else on here would tell you, if you got somebody's address in today's world, you can probably get their phone number that quick, right? And so that's the way technology is working today. And this is what's really cool and a little scary all at the same time, Matt, in that if I'm aware of one thing recently over the last year, it's with AI available, things are moving 10 times faster than they ever did the years previous. And so if you aren't ahead of the game today on tools like I just mentioned, or things like what Ylopo or what you're doing, Matt, you're going to be left behind. There is no such thing as not growing anymore, because you have to grow just to stay in pace, right? Just to keep business going in the same rate, you have to continually keep innovating yourself and pushing your business forward. So I will just challenge people with this. If you say, hey, I'm really happy with my business, we have to keep pushing through all of the great tools that are out there, because if not, we're going to be out of business. And I just see it moving faster now than ever before. So yes, I do have tools like that, but I think everybody's going to have tools like that here within the next, 6 to 12 months.
No, I appreciate that. And the AI discussion actually is the other reason that I want to be more involved with Ylopo and tip my hat to what they're doing. And I think because we were on a call about AI on taking notes, and Daniel called me immediately afterwards and said, hey, do you know what Ylopo is doing on this? So Daniel, would you mind speaking to that and also how you crush it with Maverick? Because I'm always interested to hear good end users. I know there's some people that'll say, oh, this didn't work or that didn't work. I want to talk to people that are making it work at a high level and study what they're doing. And that's how you got my attention. So I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, so we've had the opportunity to be a part of a lot of the growth and development of Maverick, and they've been doing some really cool stuff with AI lately. Some of it being AI call grading, where it will grade all the phone conversations, whether it's a radio call, whether it's a Ylopo lead, pay per click, whatever it is. And you used to have to, as a sales manager, go in and analyze every person's call and listen to it. But now through this AI grading, it can put it all together. You can take one agent or you can look at all your agents, and it'll give you grades of how your company's doing, how this group of agents doing, how this individual agent's doing, then give coaching notes based on AI. Did they follow the LP Mama script? Did they miss something here? Are they asking for the appointment? Are they getting the appointment when someone calls in or they call somebody? So there's some really, really cool stuff that's helped us move the needle. And I know it is because it will grade from the previous time frame that we're looking at, let's just say, a month ago. And our goal is always to try to be a little bit better. Are we getting higher scores overall on this AI grading? And yeah, that's been some really, really wild stuff. And I like the way Howard put it, because Ylopo, is like, I'd see radio as like one of the tools that gets people into your world. Ylopo does that as well in different ways, but cultivates and nurtures the database. But I see Maverick as catching the holes, like plugging the holes that might be in the system. And we're still human. The human element is still going to be a part of buying and selling real estate, so agents are going to be around. However, we're going to mess stuff up. We're going to miss things. We're going to miss a lead or not speak to a lead the way that they've been trained to speak to them. So Maverick really helps to fill those gaps. Another one of the awesome tools we like to use pretty much every day is a little nudging tool that if an agent is behind in the call cadence of a lead that we expect from them, they get a little text message from us, and it just says, hey, this one's overdue. You need to reach out to this one, because it's not just like somebody said earlier. It's the frequency of the communication and then the quality of the communication, and those are the two things that are being really measured at a high level with Maverick, and it's helped us move the needle.
Matt, quick question. So, we talk about like, hey, this lead could be generated right on rate, right, and then get into this whole Ylopo, AI flywheel. But is it also true, or maybe to a lesser extent, that we might have generated the lead right at Ylopo, it's in our flywheel, but now they see and hear Chris or Daniel or Bernie, and it's confirmatory that this is the right team and agent. Does that make sense, the question?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you've got them both working in sync together, I think Daniel could speak even better to that.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got, how would you describe that, Daniel?
So the question is, how does it work in conjunction with all together?
Like we're thinking about it, we've mentioned like, hey, a lead could come in through rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes through the whole, you make sure you get it through the whole nurture and cultivation and AI communication tools that we have.
Yeah.
But do you think it ever works, as we know that works great, but does it also work where that lead could have come in through a variety of sources, including Ylopo or other sources.
Yeah.
Now
And it
they see
re-engages.
the ad. Now they see the radio and television ad.
Yeah.
Guys, and it's like it's confirmatory for them that okay, yes, we should.
Oh, 100%.
hit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, through retargeting, Ylopo has retargeting tools that someone could hypothetically come into your world through a radio ad because they Googled your name. You go on the website, you register, Ylopo gets a registration, and maybe they don't answer or whatever. Then they're on Facebook, and through Ylopo's retargeting, we're popping up. We're popping up on Facebook. I mean, the rules in marketing is you got to hit people multiple times before they buy. And then now, a really cool thing we've been a part of with this beta launch is the database Ignite, where it's literally calling our leads with an AI voice. And I did some quick math the other day. We were on a call. I have 5 ISAs, so I have 5 inside sales agents. Their jobs are to call people. But I have 78, 79,000 leads. There's no way they can touch all of them. Could be an old Ylopo lead, old Boomtown, old radio lead, or whatever. And the voice tool made 130,000 calls in 2 weeks. We were kind of like cranking to see like what is possible with it. In 2 weeks, it would have taken my ISAs 50 weeks to do that. I would have had to pay 5 inside sales agents for 5 days a week, 50 weeks to do what it did. And we have something like 26 or 27 people we're actively working with just from the AI voice beta test that we did, database Ignite. So yeah, it's all working together. Phone calls, retargeting through social media, and obviously, they're seeing you online through the Ylopo ads if you're doing ads. So yeah, and then the radio to me, it's a branding piece that I hadn't really put into my world much, but I'm starting to see the importance of it because I'm seeing my competitors, I'm hearing my competitors branding and then voice and visually and all this stuff. I just was like, hey, how much can I pay for to get this lead, this phone number, this email? That's been my brain as a team leader for so long. But the branding piece is now just igniting that. It's interesting, just me, I live in kind of a smaller town. I'll go into a restaurant the other day, the Mexican restaurant, and my wife's hairdresser, I heard you on the radio, and it's like all of that is just nurturing, people in many different angles. So yeah, it's definitely all working together as one big unit.
An analogy that I heard, and go circle back after that nice analogy on it that Daniel shared. One time I heard this used where policeman pulls over a guy who's had a few too many, and he says, "Yeah, I think you've had a few too many, but you remember which drink got you drunk?" You can't answer that, right? Because when they work together like that, it's a good compliment. I think probably the biggest difference, and I think Chris or Daniel could speak to this, when there's a trust level, and I think especially Chris, because Chris probably is getting people that have said, I've listened to you for years, right? Now they're finally ready. They feel like they know you before they've met you. And so there's a personality of trust that's built. So you've built trust before they're ready. Would you say that's fair to say, Chris?
He's muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. That's the piece I mentioned earlier, owning a piece of their mind, right? Like there's a lot of things that we can do and should be doing to build the foundation of a relationship before they even realize the relationship's being built, right? It's like it's some of the things we do, like with the leads that we generate on Movoto that we introduce to agents. We teach all the agents, hey, we make a live introduction to you that you set an appointment for 4 days from now. Every day between now and then, send them an email and send them a text message asking them if they got the email. So after 3 or 4 days of them interacting and saying, hey, yeah, I got that, thanks, or I got it, I haven't read it. By the time you meet them in person and you start to have a conversation about a buyer rep agreement or how the process works, it's a much easier conversation if that foundation of a relationship has already been built or is being built, even if it's subconscious. That's what, that's what happened to Daniel when he walked in the Mexican restaurant, right? Like that person, heard him and probably multiple times to where, they said it. when you started talking, when you did your joke, your dad joke, Matt. I thought years ago I was crossing the railroad tracks. There's railroad tracks in my house between my house, San Diego, and the beach. Crossing the railroad tracks, and with my wife or girlfriend at the time, and one or two of my kids, and I was being a bad example of crossing the railroad tracks when you shouldn't. And this unbeknownst to me, a police officer pulled up behind us and he got out of his car and yelled and said, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't do that. People get killed all the time. And you're right, officer. Sorry." And we'll walk down to the to the railroad crossing and started walking. He said, "By the way, I like your radio ads." And I was like, well, first of all, how did he know like who I was? And then hearing that saying they like my radio ads. So you never know, like all those things we do, whether it's the stuff we do on radio, whether it's the stuff that Ylopo is doing to keep dripping on people. Those are the things that I said at the very beginning of this call that we have to be doing at a higher and higher level because it takes more energy, and it sort of goes to what Bernie said too. If you aren't moving forward, you are going backwards in this market. And if we aren't making progress with generating new relationships and then cultivating the ones we have, we will we'll ride the tide down.
So Chris, my wife runs a small real estate team here in the Coachella Valley, and I know she'd love to have Matt's stuff here. I don't know that it's available for her, but I can't get Matt. What really works, I think, is when someone does hear about you on radio and television or via radio and television. Well, what are they going to do? Like, they're going to go check you out, like on Google, right? And what are the reviews like? Like, do you have your shit together, guys, when it comes to Google My Business, Google local service ads? We are now going really deep on what we call click to call through Google Maps, right? That's just a clear example of how it works together, right? You hear about the Chris Heller team or Chris Heller one way, now you're going online to research them, right? And AI is, or they might go to ChatGPT or to Grok or to whatever, right? And that's going to pull from what they're seeing, the reviews that they're seeing on Google. So that's kind of how it works together. This is called omni-channel. Omni-channel means being in all different media and all different channels. And that is the title of the webinar. Like, that's how you crush it. And that's why Rate and Ylopo, for example, work really, really well together.
So would you mind if we took some questions that were out there? I think there's been some that have.
So we haven't really heard too much from Gabe. I don't know, Gabe, did you want to?
Sorry.
I was gonna chime in on that as well, Howard. Kind of what you're talking about. I think, and this is something learned from Matt years and years ago, right? It's like, when people hear, whether it's radio, television, or they're thinking about selling, right? They're Googling you, they're searching for you to learn more about you because you're representing them, versus when I'm looking to purchase, I'm looking for 3-bed, 2 baths in Denver or in this area, right? You're more looking for the product. And I think that's, key to know what does my Google My Business page look like? What is the first thing they're going to see when they land on my website, especially if they're looking for cash offers or guarantees or any of that. So just really understanding the fact that they are researching me first, probably before they ever register or call me or text me. What are those landing pages? What are those spots that are hitting the top saying about me? If you haven't Googled yourself in a long time, I mean, just your name and realtor, do that. See what's coming up, because a lot of times it's not even your own website, is no matter how much SEO you do, right? It's Zillow or Realtor or some of these other ones, and really think about and then Google My Business and then probably your website. In your bio, are you also talking about on those pages about your guaranteed or your CTA that you're speaking about on television, radio, and all of that, so that it all flows together? Because you just know a majority of the people Googling your name looking for you are thinking about selling and probably hearing you from one of these revenues. So just make sure that all of those have that call to action, and usually within the first couple of sentences too. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you Google your name with realtor after it, and you'll see all those posts, and you'll exactly see how high up in that bio or that title or whatever it is that you need to have, what those specialties are that are tying in with all the advertising recognition that Rate is getting you.
100%. And in fact, I'm glad you said that, Gabe. Anymore, the first interview that I have with any prospects, I probably spend 15 minutes on that exact point. I Google search them. I look at, is their name easy to find? If I hear it, how many reviews do they have? And also, what does their website look like? Are there widgets on it that are converting, right? That are able to convert? Do I know by looking at their website, can it tell how they're different than everybody else in their marketplace? Can't tell you how many places I look, and it's a business card. And anymore, when people are struggling right now, even in our world, not everybody implements right. First two questions I ask my team, they know to ask before it ever gets to me. Number one, are they using Fellow, or are they using something to connect with people, right? Are they using like Ylopo to connect with people? Second, what do the reviews look like? How many do they have? What does their website look like? If those things aren't in place, and then what does their report look like? How many people are Google searching their name? One of the other things that radio feed, TV feeds to that I think people don't associate it with is looking at how many unique people are searching their name every month. In fact, one thing I will shout out to Howard for helping Chris with. I was talking to Chris for years when he transitioned to be the president of KW way back when. When you Google his name, it would come up, Chris Heller leaves Keller Williams to create this other company. I'm like, right? When that got fixed, all of a sudden things started clicking better. And Howard was one of the forerunners to help fix that problem that he had, because that's how consumers were reacting to that. And so I'm a firm believer in that.
I can't tell you how many times that somebody, we get a lead on someone's radar screen out here. We have a lot of out-of-towners that are looking here as well. And they don't have an agent on the ground here. And they go to Google and they look at Shayna's reviews, and they're unbelievable. Like 5-star, 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 5-star. They know what's on the website is going to be all great, like should be, right? And that's important. But what are the independent buyers and sellers saying about you? What are they saying about you on the review sites? And what are you doing? Like, grade yourself from 1 to 10. How hard are you working, or how lazy are you being right now in getting more reviews and getting great reviews? Right? That's an important question to ask yourself, because every piece of hard work, digging in, making sure that you're showing up and you keep rising up and you keep rising up because you have a constant cadence of getting great reviews. That's money. That is just money, guys, right? And it's money whether someone hears about you on Rate. It's money whether somebody hears about you on Zillow. It's money whether someone hears about you in Ylopo. It's this flywheel, right? It all works together.
Very cool. Good point. Do we want to take some comments or questions?
Sure. Yeah, you can post in the Q&A if you want, or post in chat.
Someone asked what lead sources are working. I don't know if we want to dig into that a little bit.
I think in particular, the thing that
Rate and Ylopo.
The only ones, yeah.
Well, I can say from our side, what we've actually done, and it's been interesting, we've gone back to basics. Actually, it was a suggestion from someone back in December, was people they're basically, there's the 5 Ds that are universal that people will sell for. Death, divorce, displacement, diapers, and diamonds. So being able to go back and make sure wording in our content addresses those, and to be able to say either you know someone, or might know someone. Either you're going through this, or you might know someone that's going through these problems, and then making sure that we've got a solid call to action afterwards. And stories in our world too really sell. People love stories, not just in radio and TV content, but also in reviews. When people can share a decent review that is more of a story than just a one-liner, that converts, because people love to hear examples of what's going on today. And the other thing I think we've done very well with Daniel and with Chris, we've gone in and just said, hey, what's your challenge right now, right? Where we talk, and then we go deeper on it. And would you say, Chris, Daniel, that's also helped you?
Yeah, look, so yes, that helps, but I don't think there's a lead problem. Like, there's no shortage of leads in the world, right? There's no shortage of sources of leads, right? I can't keep track of all the companies that you can get leads from. The challenge is not that. The challenge is, what are we doing to effectively convert and nurture and
Communicate.
build, relationships with those leads. That's where the battle is. And that's where yeah. Now, did I say earlier in this conversation we always want to be generating more leads and around that? Of course we do. But that's easy, right? There's plenty of companies that want that want to, provide us with leads and plenty of lead sources. It's, do we have an effective process and is our team effective in managing those and making those calls, or are we using technology or or platforms like Howard's to do what our agents aren't going to do or aren't good at doing. Like
So,
that's
so
that's what
Bernie mentioned, like, he seemed like he really knew to the penny how many leads, regardless of where they came from, that our nurture and communication system had touched, right? Do you guys all know that? And also, do you like what percentage of our clients, like, I think we've found, and Gabe can comment on this, that a lot of our clients don't know how many of these leads we've actually, touched.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, and I was gonna piggyback on what Chris was saying, and because I didn't know if it'd be a popular answer, but I mean, it's all for still filling the top of funnel, whether that's Ylopo or Raid or any of that. But I recognize a lot of the names in this participants list, and I would probably venture to guess and agree with Chris that most people on this webinar right now do not have a shortage of people in their database and opportunities. It's, are you getting every drop out of those? We just went through, had Ylopo scrub our entire database and find those that we, based on their phone number, email addresses and names, who did it find? I don't even know, actually, now I'm saying this if I should be talking about it. I think it's in beta or coming, but getting addresses, getting them on Seller 2.0, getting that triggering so that we can get in front of them so that you're getting some sort of brand awareness. Now, when you're doing that and you've got these emails and these messages from AI and everything going out, and then they're seeing you on TV and they're hearing you being recommended or endorsed by somebody on radio, right? You're hitting them from everywhere. They're seeing you on remarketing ads when they're, on their favorite websites. I think that's where it's really coming down to, is we don't usually have as much of a lead shortage problem as we think we do. It's probably taking advantage of the tech and the advertising capabilities that we have that we're just not implementing. And then, I mean, Daniel and I go through this every week with Maverick, going through, all right, and then how many of those are triggering certain activities or calling us or doing things, and we're just missing them, right? We're not cultivating that relationship, even though it's right there in front of us. And I think that's why we've been so obsessed with Maverick lately, identifying where are all the missed opportunities, because I can't go lead by lead by lead when I've got 125,000 people in here and I'm doing everything I can to get as many of them as possible looking at alerts and activities. I need tech to help me really weed through all the mess and show me who is worth my time now, or give me the ability to mass nudge, mass notify, was what he's talking about earlier, those agents saying, hey, I know you've got hundreds, if not thousands of people assigned to you right now, but these 20 right now really need your attention. These 20 for this reason or that reason, or who should be your primary focus right now.
Yeah.
The other point,
Go ahead.
sorry, one sec. The other point is so you got to know these things, but you also need to, everyone's always like, what lead sources are working? That was the original question here, right? So everyone's always thinking, like, what's your close rate? What's your close rate? It's actually the wrong calculation. Like, your calculation is what's your cost per close.
Right.
That's your calculation. like you might have this source that is like a highest close rate, but it's so freaking expensive per lead that your cost per close does not make sense. You're barely making money on it, but you're so swayed by that close rate. Whereas this source might be 1/10, 1/20th the cost per lead, right? So your cost per close over time is significantly better. And I don't think people know that by lead source.
Yeah, I was gonna just touch on that a little bit. And you'd asked the question, how many of our leads
Yeah.
are being touched by Ylopo? I just looked at 64,022 are being touched by Ylopo of our 79,000 person database. And what I tell people about Ylopo, you know, people often ask like, are Ylopo leads good? Are ABC leads good or whatever? They're pay-per-click leads, and they have proprietary ways of getting good ones, I believe. But really, the magic is what happens after you get the lead. And we put every single lead source on Ylopo. The only reason there's about 20,000 not is because they're probably the agent's personals and we don't force them, but a lot of them will put their personals on there. So whether it's a realtor.com lead, pay-per-click lead, Zillow, radio, whatever it is, we're putting them on the Ylopo nurturing system. And so they're getting AI texting, they're getting obviously the smart list, the email drips based on their search histories, and we're getting notifications on priority alerts of people who we should call, hand raisers, all kinds of tags that are happening. So, and you know, I'll share a number. I don't know, you know, maybe I shouldn't share this kind of stuff, but Howard, you challenged me to that number a couple years ago when we first talked, and it's one of the things that Maverick helps us understand is the cost per close. Because again, you know, if I convert at 0.001%, but my cost per close is $1,000, like I'm doing that all day. I'm gonna give you $1 million, right? But if my conversion rate is 20%, but my cost per close is 8 grand, I'm losing money, you know? So really the conversion rate, you're right, isn't as important as the cost per close. And I just looked at my Maverick system and I can do quick math and say our cost per close for Ylopo leads right now are about $2,600. So I get on average after agent splits about $5,800. So I'm a little better than a 2-to-1 post splits. I'll do that all day long. I started to see realtor.com start to go down when it came to cost per close. The cost per close started to go up. I just put it that way. And you know, their cost per leads went up, the conversions that went down a little bit, but really it's to Howard's question is like, what does it cost? How many leads do you have to buy in order to close a deal, and what do those leads cost you? And I think it's important to know other people's numbers. I'm trying to get that number down to 2,000, you know, $1,800, because then my margins become even better. But I'm making money all day long with those numbers after splits, after I, you know, pay splits to the agent. So yeah, those are our numbers.
You know, and I think again, we don't like really think about again like the greater economic effect to our businesses. Let's say you got high quality, you know, buyer lead from rate, right? Well, we know from most of our clients that 40 to 50%, depending on the market, of those buyers have a home to sell. It's about 40 to 50%, depends on the market. So now you get the listing. Okay, so now Matt's giving you a buyer and a seller. You go get the listing. Are you using our open house registration tool, which is part of the whole kit? Are you making your agents use those tools? Did you just get 15 people into your attractive listing today and you just got 15 down funnel, high quality Zillow or RDC leads for free, right? Are you valuing those? Are you valuing those folks? Well, half of those people might have another listing in that market that they sell. Half of those, or maybe 10% of those people have their cousin or their parents or whoever because they love you, and right, they eventually become a referral. It is this multiplier effect that starts with one that is just a greater multiplier effect, right? And again, how do we really, you know, see that? right, in front of us and value that.
Very
So
cool.
Yeah,
we're on the hour here.
No, we can. I know we could talk deeper. I know. Tell us briefly, what are you going to tap on? I know we've shared about Ylopo Summit coming up. What are some things you're going to hit there that weren't on this call that people should be curious about?
Look, you know, if you go to Summit, like you're spending a lot of money on all these tools. We have over 110 tools just in Ylopo. I mean, we've got all this stuff going on. We are basically in the weeds for 2 days, laptops open, in the weeds with the best clients in the world. Clients who literally said, you know what, I was on the verge of canceling Ylopo, right? Then they went to one of these things, they went online, you know, with us, did whatever it was, they dug in. I'm going to talk about this in the intro. They dug in, they did the hard work, they dug in, and they are killing it. They're absolutely killing it. These are the people who are going to be teaching, right? It's not going to be us teaching. It's going to be our clients teaching how they're using the tools, which tools they're using, how they're making money with these tools. And so that everybody is going to go home knowing exactly what to do, when to do it, right? And how to do it. They're going to know that it's like not going to be, you know, sorry, it's not going to be as exciting as have Michael Jordan's strength coach who gets us really excited and we're so pumped up when we go home, but then we don't know how to make more money, right? This is literally going to be, you go home and you make more money. That's every single session is about that, and not us telling you that. It's literally agents and team leaders showing you what they do, right? And they were in the place of frustration until they learned how to dig in. The act of going to Summit is digging in, right? It's investing, it's digging in. That's what we do. We do it for 2 days. And then people at the end hug me and they're like, holy shit, I almost didn't go because I had to go all the way to Charleston and take myself out of my market. And they're like, I can't believe that I almost didn't go to this. So I think you're completely insane if you don't go to Summit, right? I think you're insane if you have rate and you don't go to the rate, you know, event. It's complete insanity to me. And I'll end with that.
No, and I'm with you, and I feel the same way about our mastermind. And actually, I only have one real speaker that might be the athletic trainer I think you talked about. Oh, that would be interesting. But otherwise, it's all deep funnel. I mean, we're really talking
Good.
where you, because I really believe, I truly feel this way. Once that quality lead comes in, there's people dropping water out of the buckets, and to figure out where's the water falling out of the bucket, where are they losing contact with people, learning that, mastering that is going to help everybody be more profitable.
Yeah, and that's what Maverick does. And as Daniel said, Maverick doesn't even now Maverick is proactive. It taps the agents on the shoulder and says, this is about to leak out of your bucket, go get it. And if you don't, we're going to reassign it, right? So it's getting in front of it before the bucket leaks as well. So
I'm excited about having hardcore implementers at both of our events, because those are the people that you want to spend time with. Because when you spend time with them, your eyes get open and you're like, that's what I wasn't doing. So we're all about that. I know you're all about that. Can't wait to. I used to remember the old Tiger League parties, Howard. I think you should do a party in
we have a killer,
Nashville.
we have a killer party in Charleston. You have to come to that. Okay. Tough times,
Awesome.
man. I can't afford 2 parties. We have a killer, killer party in Charleston.
Well, listen, appreciate you organizing this. It's great to hear from everybody, and we'll look forward to rocking it next month. And look forward to hanging with you guys as well. And appreciate our panelists. And
yes, thank y'all.
Chris,
Thanks,
Daniel, and Gabe, and Bernie, and Howard. Thanks, you guys. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, everybody.